fucking tired. Also, anyway, sleeping, but that's gonna be it. That's gonna be all my gripes for the last few weeks. Sorry I took so long. I really have very few things. Like, I have nothing to say. Excuse the absence of any videos uploaded. I mean, I was a bit scared about that whole FTC thing, whatever, but I'm not getting paid for this, so why should it affect me? And if it does, well, fuck it, I guess I'll just have to go to court about it or something like. But I'm just gonna take it as it comes. I upload this as a hobby, and I ain't gonna let some law just stop some stupid law stop like. And I mean stupid, not in the way that, oh, like, fuck the police and that sort of shit. I mean, like, it's just stupid. But anyways, I've got 3 videos for you. I got sorry. Tired brain kicking in again. Also, sorry if I sound weird because I'm a little bit sick from hay fever. But I've got 3 weapons for you today. For this video. And some of these are actually fairly cheap to get. And others, maybe not so much. And the first one, as you can obviously see, is the Dragon Nikana. Now, its crafting costs are quite high. Especially with the fact that this requires the original Nikana to do so. But what do you get out of this? Now, if we go over to the stats real quick, I currently have a Riven on this build, but I can easily flick that out. But if we flick over to an unused build, originally the crit chance and status chance of the Dragon Nikana used to be about 18% each. Now, that was fairly good in itself, but it wasn't. Let's just say it was quickly outclassed by the Nikana Prime. Now, it got a slight buff to its crit chance and status chance from 18 to 22%, which is pretty good. Especially when you factor in how like the buff to Weeping Wounds and that. But, anyways, we flick back over to my current build. This is going to be the Riven one. I will swap it over for another mod, because if we just go over the build, I'll explain in a sec. Because we got Blood Rush here for crit chance, which is kind of good like for this, because 22%. It's just good. It's good. It's good enough to make Blood Rush work. Then we have Conditioned Overload for damage as we stack more status procs, which is kind of good. It's like for any melee weapon that has like fairly good status chance. Organ Shatter for crit damage, and then we follow it up with the Riven, which you'll. This will explain why. We got my Dragon Nikana Hexi Acrotox, which adds toxin damage, status chance, and critical damage. Now, the reason... Because if I decided to swap, I could easily drop this in favor of Prime Fever Strike. But because I've already got toxin damage from my Riven, that's why I have Organ Shatter here to further buff up the critical damage and thus make the any crit damage get massively stronger. And the status chance also helps, but while Weeping Wounds doesn't stack on top of the modded status chance like it used to, it's still fairly good because it gives me a head start on the status for when, until Weeping Wounds can essentially make me guarantee status procs all over. So this is a good head start, thanks to allow Condition Overload to kick in faster. So we go on to test. Also, yeah, I'm using Grendel because he's kind of like, I've been having way too much fun with him. Just like, get in my belly. That kind of, until I don't know, it's just funny. Alright, let's get, see? This damage is like nasty. I bet that guy's gonna die. Yep, he just died before he could fall out of the map. Ooh, nasty damage. Nasty. These are 165 bombards. I've only got viral and oh. This is a cold start in the Simulacrum, by the way. If you took this into a normal game, like an extended run, this thing could easily reach high maximum power. Like, look at that. 7 times combo multiplier, 134 hits. I was not even at full combo taking on those. So, Dragon Nikana, look, if you have a ribbon for it, don't toss it because it is hell worth picking up. So now if we test this out, so we go this here, and then we put in Prime Fever Strike. This is the kind of build you would see from pretty much any others, but I feel like I keep saying multiple times, I like to focus on non-meta. So non-meta is pretty much the meta probably at the moment for Nikana is either Nikana Prime or the Skia Jadi. The latter because of its invisibility on finishers. But that's more a niche for some weapons, but primary source would likely be the Nikana Prime. I think, because I have yet to test out, see what's happened to the Nikana Prime, but I bet it's probably just slightly strong. You get the idea. Dragon Nikana, it used to be the strongest Nikana out there until Nikana Prime came out. And since Nikana Prime came out, Dragon Nikana has fell into a bit of obscurity, and as you can see, it's pretty obvious because 5-point ribbon disposition, so it was safe to say not many people use this. So, but just because I take out my ribbon doesn't mean it's just gonna the worst it's gonna have is a slower ramp up because of the fact that I don't have my ribbon with the initial adding to the initial status chains. Also, if I add an extra forma, I'll be able to put in more 90% elementals because it's not as necessary because of Weeping Wounds. But, I've gotta work with what you have. See? Slightly slower ramp up, but again, Cold Star in the Simulacrum, you're gonna have to expect that. But, if in a normal game, this would be maximum power right away, and you can easily take on high-level enemies with this. Dragon Nikana? Verdict? Worth picking up? Yes. If you have a ribbon, that is icing on the cake, because this thing, I'm using a skin for it, but it looks really dope by itself. So, now my next weapon for this video, it's actually one that, it actually used to be meta, until its mechanic got nerfed into the ground. And I'm talking about the Telos Boltace. Now, right off the bat, because it has high puncture damage, it's not very ideal, because usually when it comes to melee weapons, people like to favor slash. But, like the Broken Scepter with its high impact damage, and the staffs I was using in that video, don't underestimate it just yet. Oh, whoops. My bad. That's my brain going really haywire at the moment. Now, I don't have a ribbon for this, so this is pretty much just going to be the only build that you're going to see from this. In terms of the Telos Boltace, it used to have this cool mechanic that combined with the original Maiming Strike that basically meant you could just map clear. But it's since been changed, and so people never use the Telos Boltace because its supplemental stats were weird, were really, let's just say, not very good. But anyways, onto the build. We have Prime Fury, Drifting Contact, for attack speed and combo duration plus status chance, respectively. Primed Reach, because now that this thing adds a flat range bonus, so you can see, 5.5 meters, that's almost on par with some pole arms with Primed Reach, which is roughly about 6. Next up, we have Voltaic Strike for electricity, and Virulent Scourge for corrosive damage. Now, I'd like to put Weeping Wounds on here. Don't get me wrong. But, I personally like to have it consistent. Meaning, I like to have a consistent amount of status chance. Because, if I lose my combo counter, gone. I'd have to start all over again. Which is not really good in endurance runs, but having a consistent, while it's more good for what I like to do, if I go endurance runs, yes, I'll go Weeping Wounds, and probably because I'll also be running something like the Naramon Focus School. I very rarely use Energizing Dash. On another note, someone pointed out in a video when I did on my staff video that it was curious as to why
I don't use Life Strike. Now, it's more out of because I have access to other forms of healing, such as Arcane Grace, Hunter Recovery, because I main Kavat, my Smita Kavat a lot, along with like pretty much anything else that's available, like mainly Arcane Grace, Smita Kavat with Hunter Recovery, and what was that one? Arcane Victory, yeah. So like I've got other forms of healing, and in all honesty, I haven't had any problem with healing for a while. If I do endurance runs, I might have to swap in some mods for Life Strike, but I feel like because I have access to all those forms of healing, I don't have to worry too much about about sacrificing any mod out of here for Life Strike. So, while that's my personal preference, Life Strike's nothing to sneeze at. It's still a good way to heal. So, if you want to put Life Strike on your build, it's like, say for instance, with my Telos Boltace here, I could take out Sacrificial Steel and put Life Strike. That wouldn't hurt it one bit. Well, it would hurt in terms of its ramp-up time, but since you're using Blood Rush to ramp up your crit chance, and again, this is just like more a test of cold start in the Simulacrum, Sacrificial Steel, while it's not as mandatory on this as it would be on like say heavy attack specific builds, it's still nothing to like. You can easily take that out. It's mostly down to personal preference. On to the rest of the build, like Voltaic Strike and Verdant Scourge for corrosive damage, Condition Overload for the raw damage, mostly because it's stronger on high status chance weapons versus Prime Pressure Point, and last but not least, Blood Rush. Now, with that out of the way, before I ramble on for too long, this thing is very good at mob clearing. I had a bit of a test of it earlier. Now, one problem I have is the Ragdoll, but that's why I use the Hold 4 combo. The Idle combo has the Titania float effect, so it's like Cold Stone and Simulacrum, but this thing is really good at wave clearing. It's like, it was hitting enemies behind me, because, okay, you're not dead, but you just need, and the best part of this, if you budget right, you can actually just do that. Which in itself is really handy. It's like, while the second slide attack wasn't really what I was hoping for, when you do a slide attack, it yanks enemies in. And with a high range that Telos Boltace has with Primed Reach, this is really good for taking out huge amounts of enemies if you're running something really tanky, like, for example, Inaros or proper built Grendel. So, Telos Boltace, is it worth picking up now that melee changes have happened? Yes. I could give it a good thumbs up on that. I remember AD changed its mastery rank, but let's see. What was it changed to? I'm just curious. It's mastery rank 11. It used to be mastery rank 8, if I remember correctly. So it's higher up, but honestly, Telos Boltace is very much worth picking up, and especially when it's got like very few. Like you got the Oma, God damn it! The feeling when you forget something. The Cronin. It just clicked in my head again. Yeah. Also, yes, I haven't fully maxed out Cronin Prime, but I know for a fact this thing is a beast. So that ain't changed. So Telos Boltace is up, and anyways, my final weapon for today is one I actually haven't touched in a while. The Dual Ichor. Now, why would you pick up the Dual Ichor over something like, for example, the Dual Karma's Prime, Nami Skyla, or any other dual swords that have really got... Well, there's actually some very good perks to this. Now, status chance-wise, it's fairly low at 15% versus 35% from my Telos Boltace. But it has slightly higher crit chance, and this is why I would actually like to use the Dual Ichor. That 3 times combo multiplier. That is fairly good. It gives it a good head start over some others. because it's one of the few weapons that has a high high crit damage. The build. Wait. I was testing it under the completely wrong circumstances. Let's see, prone reach. Let's just try it without that first, because I'd rather have some combo duration. Let's see, put drifting contacts. Where are you? You're just seeing me build on the fly. Oh wait, yeah, my memory. Because I was testing this when it didn't have Organ Shadow, and it was still doing fairly good. But this is the build I would run. Now that my head's a little bit cleared on it. First off, we have Blood Rush for crit chance, and Weeping Roots for the ramp up and status chance. Condition Overload for the raw damage, because 30% status chance even with one dual stat is fairly, and Drifting Contact is fairly low. But as Weeping Runes goes up, and as we go up in combo multipliers, that will get drastic much higher. Then we have Prime Fever Strike for raw toxin damage, and Voltaic Strike with 60% electricity and status chance to make it into corrosive damage. Then we have Drifting Contact for the combo duration and status chance. Organ Shatter for crit damage. This is one of the reasons, because this weapon works really well with Organ Shatter to really ramp up the damage. Heck, if you really wanted to, because of it, it's more flexible, you could even swap it out for Gladiator Might, and it would drop to roughly where you would get with normal melee weapons with Organ Shatter, and you get extra 10% crit chance boost on top of Blood Rush, so 70% increase the crit chance versus 60. So you have that flexibility there. You could add Gladiator Might, and you could add some of the other Gladiator mod sets from, say, what was it, Helios with the Deconstructor Prime, because you could add the Gladiator mods to that. So, all in all, really good. Thumbs up on that. Other mods you could probably, just like if you are fine with the low status chance, you could drop Weeping Wounds and favor Prime Reach, because, again, flat increase the range. See there, because I took out Prime Reach, it's 5.3 meters to 3, so... And as for the stance, I'm using Carving Mantis because I feel like I just like that more. I'm gonna try the other ones a bit more later on, but for now, I'm just gonna stick with Carving Mantis. Now, if I remember correctly, the Riven disposition of the dual Ichor is in the middle. Oh, what was the combo? Oh yeah. It's like using the whole. I gotta use the whole 4 combo on Carving Mantis because it causes that annoying ragdoll effect. And as you can see, it's doing fairly well, even though it's like range. I nerfed this range into the ground by taking out Prime Reach. As target, it's doing really well. And this is from a cold start in the Simulacrum to quickly ramp up. So as you see, 165 bombards, and they went down that easily. Now, dual Ichor, it's actually fairly easy to get, but there's one main thing that is going to be a bit difficult to get, is the fact that this thing, when you have to build it, it requires the mutagen masses, because this thing is only acquirable from the biolab in your dojo. So, if you don't have access to a clan, you'll likely not be able to get this. But if you do have a clan, this is very much worth picking up because it's Mastery Rank 6. You can access it fairly early on. And, as you saw there, it can easily take you up to beyond sortie levels and into endurance runs easily. Not to mention, this thing has built-in toxin damage, so if you wanted to go something like Viral and Heat, you would actually got some flexibility with that. Or it's like, say, you could, like, Viral and Radiation, you just have to use the 2-step, you just only have to use the elements needed for Radiation with some Cold to, like, combine it into Viral and Radiation, so you don't have to have all 4 elements on this, so you've got a bit of a head start there. High crit damage, very good. Reasonable attack speed, so dual Ichor. Is it worth picking up in this day and age? Yes. if you want some variety from the meta, this thing could easily take you into endurance runs, no problem. Anyways, that should be it. His video. Now I gotta do one thing, cause Mr. Grendel is hungry. You idiots, get in my belly. Oh, that is awesome. Now, sorry, I just had to do it for a lol. I just love Grendel so much. He's so much fun to play. Can you quit growling your stomach? I'm trying to talk here. Otherwise, I'm gonna make you barf them out. Screw it. See ya. Anyways. That's it for this video. I'm sorry this took a few weeks to get out. I had so many things go on, but I ain't gonna let those be an excuse. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll try my best to upload next week, or within the next week, because I was a bit sick. Wait, okay, nope. There's no excuses. I'll definitely see. And damn, that was bad timing. I was gonna end with that, but oh well. See you next video. Yeah.